Alright guys, welcome to Wayne's World Garage. We're making tomato steaks. We've got two of the ugliest logs I've ever seen. One that looks partly rotten on the inside. The other, it's a beautiful white oak, but God, has it got a lot of stuff sticking out of it. How many tomato steaks do you think we'll get out of these guys? Thanks for watching. We've got two logs today. Alan's got the first log, and you can see it's a nice log actually, relatively round, but it's also a little bit doughy on the inside. Not sure how good it's going to be. The other log, which I'll do, is ugly. And just to remind you, Alan's on a sawmill, and we've got Cody, forklift Cody, in the background. He's helping roll the logs as we run them down the carriage. All right, so what are Cody and I doing? There's three little flappers on the back side of the setworks, and since we're making tomato steaks are supposed to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches on the light side, because if they're too big, we have problems pencil sharpening them. So I'm putting those flappers in there. I tried to do it by just pushing them with a stick. I couldn't do that, but you've got to push or pull the setworks lever forward like I just kind of did, and then you put the flappers under there. That reduces the total travel of the setworks. Yes, guys, I promised I'll do a video on how the setworks operate once we figure it out. Actually, once we get it all straightened out, because we got a little bit more repairs to do on it. Okay, Alan is finished sawing this log into boards. And what we're doing now is Cody and Alan will stack a couple of these on top of each other and we'll start sawing tomato steaks. Remember, tomato steaks are 6/4 by 6/4, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And as they come out, they'll come out two at a time. The guys at the other end will start sharpening them and we'll start producing tomato steaks. Okay, well, this is the part we often don't see. I've got Bob on the right, Tom in the middle with a pencil sharpener, and we've got George there passing him the steaks that need sharpening. And we've got the other Tom, one of the founding fathers, in the background with a black hat on. You'll see he's going to come in and he's going to start making sure these tomato steaks are 72 inches long. Last time we made tomato steaks, they were a little bit longer, and the guy wasn't terribly happy. And that's okay. They need to be 6/4 by 6/4, and they need to be 72 inches long. And they've got to be sharp. If they don't come to a point, don't use them. If they got a knot in them, don't use them. And what happens is we got a local guy who takes these guys, and he donates some money to the park, and all is well. Fortunately, Alan's doing a great job. We sawed these logs down to 72 inches, and we're making 6-foot tomato steaks. They're nice-looking tomato steaks. If you want some, let me know. All right, it's time to make tomato steaks out of the last of this log that Alan and Cody have been working on. There's 4 boards left, and they're going to stack all 4 boards on top of each other. So each time he pulls the lever, and we saw, we're going to get 4 tomato steaks at the other end that the guys need to sharpen. You got to be a little bit careful, and Alan's very careful, because if you go too far, at the end of this process, you've got 4 thin boards, and potentially they can collapse on you and then get jammed in a saw. So it's a good thing we got 3 guys here sharpening these tomato steaks. You'd think we just need 1 man to do it, but actually George is the oldest member of our team. I think he's like 80,000 years old or so. Ex-Coast Guard guy. We won't use that against him. But George pulls them off, puts them in line, Tom sharpens them, and then Bob stacks them. And you'll see, we get a pretty nice stack out of these guys. Okay, you may recall we had 2 logs to saw. This is a second log, and Alan was kind enough to allow me to saw this one. It's a nice looking log, actually. It's white oak. Not the roundest of log, that's for doggone sure, which creates a little bit of problems, but we do get our sawing, and we get a lot of tomato steaks out of it, which means the guys have to sharpen a lot of steaks. And this certainly does saw a lot harder than poplar. Time for Tom to file our saw bits again and get this thing cutting properly. But this is a pretty good sized log, and it creates a lot of nice tomato steaks. It's beautiful white oak, the Maryland state tree. All right, we're still sawing with a 48-inch saw. So what this means is we've got a little bit of a hinge left where it breaks off because I can't quite saw a 22-inch or 23-inch log, and then we break off the boards. So check this out. An 18-year-old using a chainsaw. Is that allowed? Shocking. Cody, great job. We are so happy you're there to join us. We're glad you're not a snowflake. Well, now you can see why Alan was so kind as to allow me to saw this big, ugly log. It's a decent-sized log. It's white oak, so it's heavy. But just look at all the stuff hanging out on this thing. It has all these branches in it. Turns up, it saws up really nicely and lots of tomato steaks. But we have to pay attention and be careful, because if some of this stuff hits the carriage wrong, or if it catches the saw wrong, we're going to be in trouble. So we've got to be a little bit careful when we saw this. Thankfully, we've got the log turning winch, which works phenomenally well. We've got Alan and Cody, who are really doing a great job helping out and getting things done. as you guys can see, these are really nice looking white oak boards. It's almost a shame to make them into tomato steaks, but that's the way it goes. Even if you don't appreciate wood, look at this log. This is a gorgeous log on the inside. It's a beautiful piece of white oak, and we're cutting some nice boards. They're like 18 inches by 6/4. Gorgeous. Sadly, we're going to turn them into tomato steaks, but they do make some beautiful tomato steaks, and being white oak, they're rot resistant. I'd like to limit these videos to about 30 minutes, and I'm running out of time. But now we're slicing tomato steaks. So, as you can see, if I've got 4 of these boards loaded on top of each other, the guys at the other end will quickly become overwhelmed with lots of boards coming out, and they get to pencil sharpen all those boards. Now it's time for the guys at the other end to sharpen tomato steaks. They wait for us to saw some logs up, and there's not a lot to do until we're ready to start sawing. And as you can see, when we start sharpening them, they got 4 at a time coming off every 10 or 15 seconds. They're busy. Look at this. So how many tomato steaks did we get out of these 2 logs? And man, were they ugly logs.
What's your guess?
My guess is 100.
85.
85.
Thank you.
So 85 tomato steaks for 2 of them. That's all for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Wayne's World Garage.